You came back.
Not because you were searching for something new. Not because the first session left questions behind. You came back because something stayed with you. Not the words,
the space between them. That quiet didn't disappear when the sound ended. It followed you into other moments. Moments where nothing demanded your attention. Moments that felt slightly slower than usual. You noticed it without trying to. That's how it usually happens. You don't decide to recognize something. Recognition arrives on its own. You're listening again now. That already places you here. This time, the feeling settles faster.
there's less distance, less resistance. It feels closer than before. Not closer in space, closer in familiarity. Like entering a room you've already been in. You don't remember opening the door. You only realize you're inside. Nothing here reacts to you. Nothing changes when you focus on it. That's important. Most places respond immediately. They ask something from you. Your attention, your reaction, your choice. This place doesn't. It remains whether you engage or not. That's why it feels steady. You may notice your body adjusting. Your breathing finding a slower rhythm. Not because you're being guided, because nothing is pushing you. When pressure disappears, the body recalibrates. You don't need to control that.
Just notice it if you want to. Or don't. Both are acceptable. There is no correct way to listen. There never was. The words you hear are not instructions.
In those pauses, your thoughts behave differently. They don't disappear. They just stop competing for space. One thought comes. It stays for a moment. Then it leaves without asking to be followed. That's not something you force. It happens naturally when nothing interrupts it. You might feel the urge to check something. The time, the screen, the room around you. You don't need to stop that urge. Just observe it. Notice how quickly it fades when it isn't answered. Silence doesn't argue. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't convince. It simply stays where it is. That's why it feels stable. Stability often feels unfamiliar at first. We're used to motion, to signals,
to constant updates telling us what comes next. Here, nothing announces itself. Nothing builds toward a reveal. There is no moment waiting to arrive. That can feel unsettling or relieving. Sometimes both at the same time. You might feel like you've been listening longer than you expected. That sense doesn't come from time passing. It comes from recognition. Your mind knows this state. It just doesn't visit it often. Not because it can't.
Because it's rarely allowed to. There's nothing hidden in this session. No message waiting to be decoded. No meaning tucked between lines. If you try to look for one,
you'll only find the act of looking. And even that will pass. This session doesn't progress. It doesn't escalate. It settles. And as it settles, something becomes clear. The need to leave feels quieter. Not gone, just less urgent. You could stop listening at any moment. You always could. That hasn't changed. The fact that you haven't isn't a decision. It's not a mistake either. It's simply what's happening now. That's enough.
Notice how little effort that requires. You're not holding on to anything. Nothing is holding on to you. Things exist here without attachment. They come. They stay briefly. They move on. You may start to feel like this place isn't asking anything from you. That's accurate. It doesn't need confirmation. It doesn't need participation. It remains whether you acknowledge it or not. That's what makes it feel present. Presence doesn't demand attention. It doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't try to be noticed. You don't need to remember this later. You don't need to describe it to anyone. Some experiences don't benefit from explanation. They're complete while they're happening. This is one of them. Right now, for example. You're still listening. There's no signal telling you to stop. No cue marking an ending. The session doesn't close.
it loosens.
It simply doesn't leave. And when the voice eventually fades, that won't be a conclusion. It will just be the point where it's no longer needed. What remains will already feel familiar. You won't need instructions for that part. You never did. This isn't another session because something advanced. It's another session because something was recognized. Recognition doesn't rush. It waits quietly until you notice it again. You're here. And for now, that's enough.